Hello, everyone. This is Dalia Saif, Senior Community Manager at Udacity, part of Accenture, and I'm really happy and excited to be here with all of you today. If you're looking to land your dream job, but you're still struggling to make how to create your resume, how to make it shine, so I think you are in the right place. Please join me today in welcoming Holly Evans in our exclusive webinar on crafting a standout resume. Holly is an experienced career coach and higher education professional with over 15 years of experience supporting individuals in their academic and professional journeys. Holly specialized in guiding job seekers through career transition and crafting tailored, result-driven resumes. So welcome, Holly. We are so happy to have you today with us here. And Holly today will present different points and different tips and tricks on how to tailor your resume to shine and to attract more the employer. So we will go through the different key components of an effective resume to understand what makes them stand up to hiring managers, tailoring your resume for specific roles, to learn how to customize your resume to match job descriptions, and finally to leveraging AI tools and to discover how you can use the AI tools to help you optimizing your resume for better visibility and higher response rate. So let's start. Before starting, as you know, the webinar will be recorded and we will share it with you in Udacity Community later. And we will have a Q&A session at the end. So please, if you have any question, just put it in the Q&A chat box and we will answer it at the end. Thank you so much again. And please, Holly, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here to discuss creating a standout resume and what it takes to create that resume. So this is an excellent topic to discuss because when I first started as a career coach, typically it was, let's have this one-page resume. And now it's shifted to tailoring resumes, having many different versions of your resumes. So we're going to talk about this today, and this is a great topic to discuss. So on today's agenda, we're going to be talking about tailoring your resume, because to craft a standout resume, you need to tailor to the job that you're applying for. That's important to have in your resume. You want to identify your skills, experience, and other professional resources. We're going to talk about creating your brand. We're also going to discuss resume formatting basics, the applicant tracking system, which is a really big topic now. I'm going to have a resume example, tools to help craft your resume, and how to use AI to craft your resume. Spoiler alert, AI is a big resource in helping create and crafting your resume. We're going to talk about researching the companies you're applying for, why that's important. And then we're going to get into the Q&A portion of this presentation. So let's discuss tailoring your resume. So to craft your resume to the job that you're applying for is going to incorporate tailoring the job that you're applying for. So you want to think in terms as for a resume as a living document. I know previously it was, years ago when I started as a career coach, as a professional just applying to positions, I had one resume that I used to apply for every job that was out there. And then anytime I would start a new role, then I would add that experience and the skills to the resume. Now, a resume is a living document that you constantly need to update, adjust, and tailor. So don't think that, all right, I've got my one resume, I'm good to go. Nope, it's constantly updating and enhancing your resume as you apply to job positions. So what's in a tailored resume? So let's start at the bottom of this pyramid. You want to review the position requirements. I cannot stress this enough of the job listing has exactly what they're looking for in a candidate. So you want to make sure that your resume is aligning to exactly what they're looking for, and it has those experiences and skills as closely as you can identify to what is in that job listing. So again, they are telling you exactly what they're looking for. So you need to make sure that we have your resume tailored to that job description. And we'll discuss some really useful resources to help with that process a little bit later in this presentation. You want to research the company. Again, I can't stress enough how important it is to know the company you're applying for. What is their mission statement? What are they known for? Have they been in the news recently? And then we kind of want to tailor some of your resume to the company that you're applying for. Also, researching the company is going to come into play later if you do get an interview for a position. I was recently on a hiring committee, and one of the first questions we ask is, what do you know about this company? Why do you want to work for this company? 90% of the candidates didn't know much about the company they were applying for. It wasn't a complete deal breaker, but you still want to know a little bit about the company you're applying for to prepare for that question and to use it in your resume, cover letter, and any other professional resources you're going to be utilizing when you apply for this role. And then you want to match your skills. You want to align your skills as closely as possible. And I do realize that sometimes you cannot align all of your skills to the role that you're applying for, but we really want to look at some transferable skills and how can we utilize some of those transferable skills to match to the job listing. And this is also where cover letters are going to come into play. So I know cover letters are a little bit controversial because sometimes they're not always read whenever you do apply one, but I like to think of it in terms as that's your first opportunity to talk to a hiring manager. And what do you want to stand out as a candidate applying to this role? And that's where we can align some of those skills that maybe you're missing from the job description into a cover letter. So we want to match the skills to the job that you're applying for. You want to showcase your brand, who you are, what you represent. And all of this information will then go into your tailored resume. So you want to map it out, what to include. The first step, so I'm assuming probably most everyone has a resume that they have already created or they're working from. I like to, whenever you're talking about crafting your resume, let's just start from square one. Let's just pretend that you don't have a resume. So get some type of document and just start writing this information out. Write down all of your skills, not just skills relevant to the job that you're applying for, but those transferable skills, hard skills, soft skills are also going to be important too. So just go ahead and write all of that information down. Write down your experience and list about 5 to 10 bullet points of what you did. Now, this is going to be extremely important think about day-to-day activities of what you did in those previous roles. But then you also want to have kind of measurable achievements that you did in a previous role. And I have an example of created process to improve productivity from 5% to 15%, because I can't stress enough how important it is to show positive achievements in a role. So again, you want to think in terms of what's going to make you stand out as a candidate. You're applying to this role against other people who have maybe very similar experience as you, or maybe they might have a vastly different experience than you, but what's going to make you stand out, and it's going to be those measurable achievements, along with other important aspects as well, but those measurable achievements recruiters really enjoy reading. So maybe you worked on this project, some type of positive impact that you can list in your resume. So 5 to 10 bullet points, a mixture of day-to-day activities, along with measurable achievements as well. And just for right now in this stage of the resume crafting, don't worry about the wording of it because we're going to have tools later to help with the wording of it. So just write down the information, even if maybe it doesn't make too much sense, but you just want to have what you did kind of just out in front of you, so then we can use what you have to craft into a resume. Experience can also be volunteer experience and education, depending on the experience that you have in the field you're applying for. So I know a lot of times experience is thought of as work that you were paid to do, but that's not always the case. So you want to think of it in terms of relevant experience, and sometimes volunteer work, freelance, education is that relevant experience that you can list in that experience section as well. Then you want to go into your education training certificates. You want to list those that you've completed and those that are still in progress. So if you're still currently working on a certificate or a training, you want to list the school, the major and what you're completing, a start date. So it could be March of 2025, and then a dash to present, and then underneath it, a completion date or graduation date, if it's in the future of maybe August of 2025, depending on when that estimated date is planned to be. Any awards or recognitions, I cannot express this enough, how important awards and recognitions is. Even if it is not relevant to the job you're applying for, it still shows a great showcase of character, work ethic. Again, I mentioned I was recently on a hiring team. We had one candidate who they were nominated for many different student service awards. Just the work that they did working with students and helping them in their success. And during the interview, they just kept bringing out these different awards. Here's an example of this award that I received, and this award I got because of helping this student. We ended up offering that candidate a job because just their enthusiasm that they showed, as well as how it was constructed on their resume of the awards that they received, and then how they conveyed that during the interview as well. So do not bypass, if you bypass listing those awards. If you receive Employee of the Year, Employee of the Month, please list all of that information on a resume as well, or in this Map It Out stage, because again, that is so important to have. And then projects, this could be many different things. This could be projects you've worked on. Maybe you spoke at a webinar. Maybe you presented at some type of conference. Maybe you worked on some type of application that was relevant to your field. So you just kind of want to list those projects that you've completed. So at this stage, we're just listing all of this important information on a document to help us create a resume. So let's start with your personal brand. So that personal brand is just a short, impactful sentence or two. It can be up to 5, really. That kind of sums up who you are as a professional, what you are great at, and what makes you unique. And it's like your career tagline. That's a great way to put it. Useful on your resume, LinkedIn cover letters, or when networking. And to define your personal brand, first, you want to stand out. So identify your core strengths and skills. Again, this is about making you stand out. So you don't want to have, I've seen a lot of personal brands to where it's very common across the board of well-organized, hardworking, dependable. So it's more of, let's think of it in terms of a career individual who has focused their experience in, and then just something really relevant to the role that you're applying for. Then you want to optimize your online profiles. So LinkedIn, you want to update your headline summary to have this kind of tagline that you have in there. Again, on your LinkedIn profile, when I was talking about mapping out some of those work achievements from your previous work profile, your LinkedIn profile about section is a great place to put those career achievements. So along with your personal brand and what makes you stand out, those career achievements is also a great place to put on your personal LinkedIn profile. And then as well as other profile or platforms. So this could be like a personal website, your online portfolio, and then maybe some social media, depending on how it's used. I don't recommend maybe your personal social media account, but if you have like a social media that's promoting maybe a freelance business or something along those lines, then you want to list your personal brand there. Understand your unique value. So what makes you stand out from others in your field? That's going to be those career achievements, what you've done previously, and then how you can showcase that in your personal brand. So what perspective, experience, or approach is uniquely yours? Again, and you can think of it in terms as your previous experience. Previous experience is extremely helpful in defining your brand as well. And then you want to know your passions and values. I kind of discussed this a little bit about the company research in the agenda. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So you want to know what you care most about in your work, what motivates you, and what value do you want to reflect. So you want to make sure your values are going to align with the company that you want to apply for. And then you want to list that in your personal branding statement as well. Again, you can have a personal branding statement, but it's also kind of like a living type of document that you can update and tailor to the job that you're applying for. So mine would be, I want to bring maybe my previous work experience in working in higher education to help students in this field land a role that they're passionate about. So it's all about kind of updating that branding sentence to always kind of tie into the company that you're applying for. Or another great example is, I want to use my previous work experience or my previous experience in XYZ, or my previous skills with XYZ to contribute to the mission statement of insert company name, providing excellent customer service. So depending on what it is, you always want to kind of incorporate that into your personal brand as well. So let's talk about resume formatting. Just the basics for a resume format. So again, I said a resume is like a living document. The length needs to be 1 to 2 pages. I don't recommend going over 2 pages in a resume. If you have more that you want to share, this is where an online portfolio or your LinkedIn profile is going to come into play. And your resume needs to be relevant to the career you're, or to the job you're applying for. So it's a relevant experience. Again, you can have many different versions of your resumes, many different copies. I have a folder full of tailored, updated, formatted resumes that I keep on my computer. And then I just use to update as applying to roles. Margins 1 inch on all sides. Font 11 to 12 points, such as Arial or Times New Roman, like the basic font. And again, this type of basic resume formatting is going to come into play for applicant tracking systems, which I will talk about a little bit later. It needs to be well organized and simple and concise language. So here's an example of a basic resume. Now, this is what it needs to look like. I know previously it was thought of to have, or it was more important to have a more visually appealing resume, and that's completely understandable. But for more companies that are using this applicant tracking system, which is what we're going to discuss next, it's important to have a very basic resume. Now, I'm saying you can have many different versions of a resume. You can have that eye-appealing resume that you use for if you're networking, if you're emailing someone your resume, maybe you're using it for your online portfolio. It can definitely be eye-appealing. But when you're applying for a role, it needs to be a basic resume in case a company is using this applicant tracking system. So this is just a great example of that basic resume and what it needs to look like. And anytime you tailor your resume, you always want to save that version of your resume as a different copy. So let's get into applicant tracking systems, because these are growing tremendously. And this is why it's important to tailor. Well, it's not the sole reason why it's important to tailor your resume to the job you're applying for. But with these applicant tracking systems, also known as ATS, they screen resumes by looking for specific keywords and skills and qualifications the employer has set. If your resume doesn't match these, it may never reach a human recruiter. So keep that in mind. When I mentioned earlier that job listing is lays out exactly what they're looking for in a candidate. So they've probably said it, so they want your resume to match what that job description has. That's why it's important, because that ATS system is going to scan your resume to try to pick up on certain keywords, qualifications that's listed in your resume that matches with the job description. That's why it's important to tailor your resume so it stands out against the other resumes this ATS system is scanning. Ranking, the ATS often ranks candidates by how closely they match to the job description. A tailored resume with relevant keywords and phrases improves your chances of landing higher in the list. So format reading, this is also key, that resume example that I have. Some ATS systems can struggle with unusual layouts, graphics, or complex formatting. A tailored, clean, ATS-friendly resume ensures your information is phrased correctly. So that basic resume layout, you don't need to have like any columns, any headers, footers, different colored font, photos, anything like that does not need to be on your resume that you use when you're applying for roles. So in summary, tailoring your resume improves your chances of passing that first kind of digital gate and getting in front of an actual recruiter. So we don't know what companies are utilizing an ATS system, but we need to approach it like every company utilizes an ATS system. And I can probably assume that larger companies are using these applicant tracking systems because it does help filter down those resumes and candidates and help with that process of determining who they want to move to the next steps for this job listing. So to apply for these roles, you need to have that basic resume layout when applying for the role. Now, you can have those visually eye-appealing resumes for just networking or emailing, but when you want to apply, you need to use that basic resume layout for an ATS system. So if you've ever applied to a role and you've been immediately rejected, maybe rejected in the middle of the night, or maybe you got that rejection email early the next day, more than likely it was an applicant tracking system that rejected your resume because they have it set when they want that system to reject a resume. And a lot of times it's either right after you apply, in the middle of the night, or early morning the next day. So that's why it's important to, one, tailor to the job you're applying for, and then two, have a very basic style resume when you apply. I also want to add another side bit of information when you're applying for a role. So you can use any and all job search platforms that are out there: Indeed, Google Jobs, LinkedIn, Monster, social media, etc., to look for a job. But when you are ready to apply for a job, and I cannot stress this enough, always go to the company's website to apply for the job. Never apply on any of like Indeed, Google. I don't even recommend you using or applying on LinkedIn. Always go to the company's website to apply for the role. I have seen a lot of times on Indeed where a job is still showing as open, still accepting applications. You go to the company's website and the job is actually being closed for a while. Or I've worked with a lot of candidates to where we kept an Excel document of jobs we applied for, how we applied, and it was a higher percentage of times that they were able to move forward in an interview when they applied on a company's website as opposed to applying on LinkedIn. And I'm not sure exactly why, but I do have a guess as to why. Is I think once they receive enough applicants on their system or on their own website, that they're not going to log into another system like their company LinkedIn profile to pull more resumes and applicants and candidates when they have enough on their own company website that have applied. So that's kind of why I think the numbers are so different. Now, LinkedIn is the number one place for networking. So after you apply, you do want to network on LinkedIn, but always apply on the company website. And a lot of times these company websites are utilizing these applicant tracking systems, and it helps with the flow for HR. So that's why it's important to apply on the company website. So now let's talk about tools for tailoring. So JobScan, this is a great and excellent tool. This is a tool that I have used for years now, and you can upload the job that you're applying for. Insert the link of the job that you're applying for, then upload your resume, and it will scan your resume and it will tell you a percentage of how much you match to the job. So this is great in kind of pinpointing on what stands out in your resume to the job that you're applying for. Now with JobScan, you get 5 free, well, you used to get 5 free scans a month. I think it's still that way, but I'm not 100% sure. But it also does a great job of kind of suggesting some keywords that are missing from your resume to help with the tailoring process. Now, JobScan has been a useful tool. I still utilize it some. It used to be kind of my go-to every day to really help with that tailoring of a resume for a job listing. But with AI and the tools that we're utilizing for AI, ChatGPT and other kind of similar AI has been extremely helpful in the tailoring process. But there's a lot of steps that you need to take and a lot of information you need to know. So you don't want to just, with AI, you give it the prompts of what it is that you want to really pinpoint out of your resume in the job listing. And we'll talk a little bit more about the steps and really how to incorporate utilizing AI to help with the tailoring of your resume. So you can paste the job description in the ChatGPT, pull out the most important keywords and qualifications. You can ask it to do that. Hey, what are the most important keywords, listing, qualification, skills in this job language? Highlight relevant experience, prioritize emphasis the achievements and experience that match with what the employer is looking for. And then it can also offer kind of formatting advice as well. So let's talk more about how to really utilize AI. So gather all necessary information, list all of your work experience, skills, job responsibilities, education. Again, that's kind of back to the map it out portion of this, where you want to make sure you write down everything, experience, skills, awards, education, training, all of that. And then you get the best results by optimizing your prompts. This is extremely important. So ChatGPT delivers the strongest resume content when you provide clear, detailed instructions. Sometimes it takes rewording of things whenever you do want to have those clear, detailed instructions. But to improve outcomes, craft well-structured prompts that include the right context and specifics. So going back to when I told you to write out your experiences, list 5 to 10, don't worry about wording. This is where you can go and maybe copy what you wrote out that maybe you didn't like the way it sounded, put it into ChatGPT, and then give the prompt of reword this to sound more professional, or reword this to sound more professional and shorten to 2 sentences. All right, so let's get back to discussing about how we can use AI like ChatGPT, which is kind of the main one I'm going to focus on is ChatGPT, to tailor your resume. So you want to be clear about the job title and industry. The more precise you are, the better results ChatGPT can tailor in responses. So rather than making a general request, it is best to state the exact role and industry you are targeting. Include relevant keywords. You want to pull key skills and qualifications directly from the job description so ChatGPT can align the content with what employers are seeking. And I will get a little bit more into this a little bit later. I'll have some kind of step-by-step and example prompts that you can utilize into help tailoring your resume. And then structure your prompt effectively. Instead of simply asking ChatGPT to write my resume, give focus, actionable prompt with specific guidelines. So I'm saying whenever you are working on tailoring your resume, you don't want to just upload and then say, tailor my resume to this job description. Now, that has been done. It is, in a way, does work. But to get the best results, you want to kind of go line by line of your resume. So start maybe with the summary objective statement, start with the skills, experience, education, and just do line by line of tailoring each of those sections because you will get better results in that. So let's start with step one, analyzing the job description. You want to gather 3 to 5 job postings for your target role, paste them into ChatGPT, and ask for analysis of the most common skills, responsibilities, and qualifications. This is a great example prompt that you can use. Review the following job descriptions and list the most frequently mentioned skills, responsibilities, and qualification. Please organize them by category: technical skills, soft skills, certifications. This is giving a direct prompt to ChatGPT to organize those job skills and responsibilities and qualifications, and give you something visually to see to help you tailor your resume utilizing ChatGPT and AI. Step 2, generate resume bullet points with metrics. So again, when I was talking about kind of the mapping it out of your experience and skills, you want to incorporate that as well, and then also use ChatGPT to kind of help give your words a little bit more depth into this. So well-written bullet points make your resume stand out and convey an impact. To craft strong, results-driven statements, share details about your work experience. You can ask ChatGPT to create concise, action-focused bullet points that highlight those measurable outcomes. And then you always want to review and edit the generated content to ensure it is properly represents your experience and aligns with the role you are targeting. So a great example of that is generate 5 achievement-focused resume bullet points with metrics based on my job title and work experience. A lot of times you do need to upload your resume first or upload those prompts so it can review that and then use the information you give it to then generate what you are asking for. Now, I do want to preference this by saying that when you are doing this, it is important that you're not just copy and pasting directly what ChatGPT says. You want to ensure you are making edits and changes, because there are a lot of, well, I have seen a lot of just some grammar issues with AI. And then you also just want to make sure it is in kind of in your voice as well. This is just a great way to kind of help with whenever you have like a writer's block and you need to think of different words or languages to use for your resume and to help kind of elevate the wording of it. So again, you don't want to ever just copy and paste directly what it says. You want to use what it has to then formulate a response kind of in your own wording. But I can't stress how helpful it is to just kind of use what it has and giving those prompts to then utilize in tailoring your resume. So step 3, writing that professional summary. So that summary gives recruiters a quick, compelling overview of your experience and your strength. You can create one by asking ChatGPT to draft a brief and engaging introduction. You want to make sure the summary highlights your years of experience. This can be 10 plus years, 5 plus years, or if you don't have many years of experience, then you can kind of omit that section of the summary statement. And you want to keep it concise. Aim for no more than 5 sentences, under 75 words, to ensure clarity and impact. So a great example prompt is, write a professional summary for a insert job title based on my resume details below. Keep it short and focused on my key experience, skills, and notable achievements. Again, really direct prompts that you are giving ChatGPT to help with that process. So again, we're going into sections, starting with a summary and really focusing on those sections of your resume that you can then use to craft your resume. So step 4, include the education notable achievements. So beyond the work experience, your resume should feature a clear, concise section highlighting your education and standout accomplishments. ChatGPT can assist in formatting this information professionally. So you want to provide all the relevant information to ChatGPT, which is sharing your degrees, graduation dates, or expected graduation dates, institutions that you've attended, any certifications, awards, or key achievements. especially early in your career, considering adding academic honors, leadership roles, or major projects. And a great example prompt for that is generate an education section for my resume using the details below. Be sure to include relevant academic awards, certifications, and accomplishments that support blank job title. So really being targeted in your prompt with ChatGPT is important, and really just going line by line of your resume will really help craft those top results and stand out when you are applying for a role. And I've used this several times. Recently, I revamped my LinkedIn profile, my about section, as I mentioned earlier, of really having kind of those key measurable achievements. And that's what I really focused on, was trying to formulate easy to read bullet points from my LinkedIn profile that stand out, and actually use some of those bullet points to incorporate into my resume as well, because I think it did a great job of showcasing my measurable achievements in like a one sentence format that just really encompasses a lot of work that I did and really conveyed the message that I wanted to send. So talking about researching the company, again, I can't stress enough how important it is to research the company. You want to know the company's mission statement and their goals. Incorporate the company's mission statement or goals into your objective. Example, I want to utilize my skills and experience to contribute to the mission of XYZ company, which is providing excellent customer service, or whatever that mission may be. Job description, align your skills to the job description. The job description lists exactly what they're looking for in a candidate, so you want to make sure that you are using those same keywords from the job description in your resume. So let's talk about some top tips that I have for crafting your resume. Pick out items from the job description that you can align with. Be specific and quantify your achievements. Use AI to help with wording in your resume or to shorten phrases. Keep format of resume simple. You can have several copies of your resume with different wording and experience. Job experience should only go back 10 to 15 years unless it's relevant. And if you do have more experience that you want to showcase, you can always add a hyperlink in your or link in your resume. To view more of my experience, please visit my LinkedIn profile. Please visit my online portfolio, whatever it may be in your resume, where they can view that more information if they want to. But the resume is just focused on the role that you are applying for. And resume should only be 1 to 2 pages. Any additional information you want to showcase should be in an online portfolio or LinkedIn profile and link in resume. So now we are at the Q&A portion of the presentation. So do we have any questions we want to start with?
Thank you so much, Holly. And yeah, thank you. Really apologies for what happened again. And thank you for everything, and understanding. Yes, please. So please go ahead and ask your questions in the Q&A chat box, and we will take it one by one, and Holly will answer them now. So please go ahead. You can put your question now. If not, you can put it in the normal chat box. However, the Q&A chat box is enabled now, so please go ahead and put your question. Any questions?
Well, while we're waiting on some questions to generate, I can answer a few that I already have saved. Is that okay?
Yeah. Please, let's go.
Okay. So the first one is, please share any free portals to create an effective resume. For the resume you want to create that's you're applying for, really Microsoft Word or any just general document would be fine. But Microsoft Word does have some really great templates. Resume Genius also has some. Canva has some. So if you're wanting to create a more visually appealing resume, all of those platforms have that, but just to have kind of that strict, really basic formatting resume, it just needs to be a plain document. How to address a career break on your resume. So you don't, with a career break, you don't want to actually address it directly on your resume. You do just want to list that information, and kind of depending on what you were doing is going to be important. So during that time, if you were doing any type of training or freelance, then you can list that on your resume, just depending on what it is that you were doing. If you took time off for a family situation, then I wouldn't put that on your resume. That could be something that's addressed during an interview, or you could incorporate a very small sentence into a cover letter if you did want to address it there. Or if you were laid off from a previous position and you were using that time to search for another role, you can also do that there. A lot of times career breaks are not too big of an issue for employers. They do realize that sometimes companies do have layoffs, and then it does take some time to then find your next role or next job. So sometimes with career breaks, just depending on how long they are or how big that gap is, they may ask that during either an interview, or they may ask before an interview, and then you just want to be prepared to address that. So on the resume itself, either list if you were doing some trainings, if you were doing some freelance work, or something kind of impactful, you can list that on the resume. But if it was more personal, then I would just leave it off the resume and just list your experience.
Thank you, Holly. Actually, we have some Q&As in the Q&A chat box as well. Maybe we can take the first one. Is it good practice to directly reach out to the HR instead of LinkedIn, Fast Apply, or any other techniques?
Yes, great question. So I can't stress enough how important it is to network after applying for the job. So I mentioned that applying for the role, you do want to apply on the company's website. That is always going to be the best way to apply on the company website. And then you want to network somehow after you have applied for the role. And this can be through LinkedIn. This could be either see if you have any mutual connections that work at this company. Send them a LinkedIn message. Hey, I just applied for this role. Can you refer me to the hiring manager? Or if you don't have any connections, you can then try to message someone through LinkedIn, kind of use that same language. Hey, I just applied for this role. I'm really interested. Can you refer me to the hiring manager? Because you never know that if this company offers some type of, what is it called? Like a benefit to the employees when they refer someone. And candidates and other employees are always looking for someone that they can refer, because they might get that bonus or extra money depending on what it is for that referral. So it's always best to then reach out. If you do have the hiring manager's email, you do want to create an email, keep it short. You don't want to have too long of an email, because again, they're busy themselves, and really align. Say, hey, I just applied for this role. I'm really interested. And then just kind of in your job description, you say you're looking for a candidate with, in my previous experience, I have this. And again, ChatGPT helping you kind of formulate those words and shorten the email is going to be really impactful.
Thank you so much, Holly. The next one is, what do I do if my current resume has more than 2 pages? What should I keep or get rid of?
So if your resume has more than 2 pages, you want to take a look and see what can be used for the relevant role that you're applying for. Or you can also look at shortening some of the experience sections of your resume to maybe some of the information may not be as relevant to the role that you're applying for. And then with experience, you do want to go back to about 10 to 15 years. And then any additional experience, if you feel like you want to leave that company on your resume because you feel like it's going to be a good reference or experience to have, you can always then have another section on your resume called additional experience, and then just list kind of the company name, the time you were there, job title as well. and then either leave it that way, or you could add like a one sentence type of what you did there that was relevant to help kind of shorten that resume.
Perfect. Thank you. The next one is, what are the best ways to showcase hands-on projects and Coursera Udacity Nano degrees so they look credible and impactful on my resume? Also, what are the key things hiring managers look for in an entry-level data analyst resume when the candidate doesn't have full-time experience yet?
Mm-hmm. So for entry level, they're really looking at how you can showcase previous projects that you've worked on. So when you're looking to showcase those projects, you either want to have them, listed on the resume, and then you can always have that external link linked on there. To view more of my projects, please check out my online portfolio, my LinkedIn profile, my website, depending on where those projects are housed. And so you want to have those projects showcased, and then as well as your previous experience as well, because transferable skills are important. And so you want to have it, again, reviewing that job description. What are some of those transferable skills that you can then really pinpoint and really stand out on your resume? And then you also want to use your education and training as well to really make that stand out on your resume as well. And then I'm going back to the cover letter, because cover letter is your first opportunity to actually kind of talk to a hiring manager using your own words. So it's always that important question of, well, you don't have this experience. Why should we hire you for this role? And that's always like the number one question for entry level. But you want to make that connection of, well, in my previous experience or roles, I also didn't have this one experience, but I was able to learn and adapt. So a great example of that is, well, in my previous role, I did not have experience utilizing Salesforce, but I was able to learn and train in Salesforce, and now I'm the Salesforce trainer. Word this better than what I'm saying, but now I'm the person that trains others to use Salesforce, and I'm going to bring that same adaptability into showcasing my recently acquired skills into this new role. So just making that connection, and that can be done well in a cover letter of saying that I didn't have this previous experience. I'm going to bring that same type of enthusiasm into this new role, and then really focusing on honing in on the skills and experience, or the skills and qualifications in that job description, and listing that on your resume.
Perfect. About too long resume, is it okay to be overqualified, or should only list the preferred qualifications and skills?
It really depends on what is listed as overqualified. I'm going to be honest, sometimes there is a such thing as overqualified. And I'm sure a lot of people have maybe experienced to where they've been rejected because of overqualification. As I mentioned earlier, I was on a hiring committee. And one of the hiring managers didn't want to move forward with someone because they felt like they were overqualified. So sometimes you do just want to focus on the relevant information at hand when you're applying. A resume is a living document. You don't have to list every single bit of information about your previous experience and skills in a resume just to have it on there. You want to focus on the job you're applying for and aligning your previous roles and skills to the job that you're applying for. So you want to think of it in terms of just focusing on what they're looking for, because if there's a job opening and they have over 100 applicants apply for this role, and let's say they don't have an applicant tracking system that filters through applicants that apply, then you're talking about one HR person who is reviewing over 100 applications, as well as doing other things with their role, and reviewing other jobs that they have open. So they're probably, it's common that they only spend 10 to 15 seconds looking at a resume. So you want to make sure that your resume is going to stand out, and the only way it's going to stand out is aligning directly to the job description and having only relevant information for the role. And if they're only spending 10 to 15 seconds, they're probably only looking at that first page anyways. They may glance at that second page, but they're probably all looking at that first page.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, this is very important because most of the time we want to like present everything. We want to be very attractive for the employer. However, this is not this is not happening.
This is not, they want relevant information.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, the next question. Should I be clear, direct about the wage in HR interviews?
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, should I be clear and direct about the salaries and wages in
Yes.
HR interviews?
Yes. Oh, that's a great question. One of my favorite ones too. So you always want to be clear what your salary expectations are. If it's not listed on the job description, more than likely, they will ask that during if there's a first round interview. A lot of times that's done with HR, and that's where salary is discussed. So you can do this one of two ways. One way, if the salary is not listed on there and they ask you, what is your salary expectations? You can turn the tables and say, well, what is the salary range for this role? And then they can give you that information. Or you can be prepared and say, well, my salary range is, and then give them a number after you've done your own research in the area and then what salary you are expecting. But whenever you do give your own salary range, let's say it's 70 to 80,000, but you really want more of $80,000 for your salary. I'm sorry, let's say you want $80,000 for your salary. Whenever you're giving your own salary range, you want to keep your 80,000 more on the lower end. So you would say, well, my salary range is 78,000 to 88,000, because whenever they do then send an offer, they're always going to go more than likely to the lower end of what your salary range is. So you want to keep that in mind whenever you do give them a salary range. I know we tend to probably put what we actually want on the lower end, but you kind of want to make sure that you have what you actually want on the lower end of your salary range, so you do get that.
The next one. What if the relevant experience is old and outdated, and the experience is also shorter than what the job description mentioned? Should I not apply to such a role?
No, you should always apply. You should always apply to the role, even if you feel like, well, my experience doesn't align exactly to what they're looking for, or my experience is a bit older. Then you should definitely still list that on your resume, and that's where you want to then have kind of your additional experience, and maybe shorten some of those experiences in between so you can get everything onto a 1 to 2 page resume. But if older experience is relevant, then you definitely want to list that on there. And then even if you feel like, oh, I'm not a 100% match for this role, I shouldn't even apply for it, you should still apply, because you don't know what other candidates may not be a 100% match to the role as well. And then if you are selected for an interview, that's where you're going to showcase, and they may say, well, you don't have this one experience or this one skill. Why should we select you as a candidate? And then going back to that language, well, I didn't have this one skill for my previous role and I was able to adapt and learn it. And I'm going to bring that same type of enthusiasm into learning this new skill.
Perfect. We have another question here. Can I reach to the recruiter directly on LinkedIn chat if I want to ask about a vacancy, or it's preferred to be by email or in the interview process?
You can directly message them through LinkedIn. A lot of times, if they are connected, you'll see meet the hiring manager or something on the LinkedIn post. If you click on that, a lot of times you get the message of you must be LinkedIn Premium to message this person through LinkedIn. Sometimes you can bypass that and actually click on the person's profile and message them that way. Sometimes they'll let you message them directly that way. Or you can send a connection request and then send a message in there about, hey, I'm applying for this role. I'm interested. I have some follow-up questions. And that way you can kind of bypass the LinkedIn Premium component of that. If you have the recruiter's direct email, it is best to email them. But sometimes that's not always relevant or listed on the job description. And sometimes there's no one associated with that job description. So there's no HR person that has listed on there, or nothing is listed on there, listed on the job description. Then you can kind of go about that one to two ways. You can, one, go to the company's LinkedIn profile, look at the people that work there, and then maybe find an HR or a talent acquisitionist person that you can then connect with or message with. Or you can go to the company's website, go to their career section, and normally it's like a general email of hr@companyname.com or something, and then you can send a follow-up email that way. Again, keep your emails short and aligning with the job description. Don't say I did kind of all this other stuff that's not relevant to the role. Keep it really focused on the role that you're applying for, and really utilize maybe ChatGPT to kind of help shorten some of those phrases and what you want to say in your networking email or outreach.
Perfect. How best would one address a large gap in employment due to health or disability?
So in that sense, you can just leave it off of your resume. I would not put anything on your resume that's even relevant to any type of personal information. And then if that is asked during the interview, you can say that, I had some health issues, or I was dealing with a family issue. And I can tell you most of the time, if not all the time, that addresses the problem and nothing else needs to be said. They may have one or two follow-up questions, but they really can't ask too many questions because of privacy issues. So a lot of times that's just addressed there. You can, if you feel like you want to address that in a cover letter with a one sentence. During this time, had some health issues, but I really use this time to work on my skills, trainings, read some articles, and just kind of, how did you kind of keep up to date still with your skills and training during that time?
Thank you so much. Okay, maybe we can take last two questions. I know the webinar came to an end, and with the time we lost during like changing the link and all of that, but maybe we can take just two quick questions. Okay, a transitioning individual will always be competing against other applicants with more relevant direct experience. What strategies work best to highlight transferable skills and make the resume stand out?
Great. This is a great question. And this is more than likely what a lot of job seekers are going to be faced with. So this is really where outlining those career achievements are going to come into play. So really showcasing those quantifiable achievements on a resume is going to really make you stand out. So maybe you don't have that exact relevant experience they're looking for, but these other experiences and achievements from previous roles is really going to help you. So an example of that, maybe you were promoted to a shift team lead. Maybe you were promoted to trainer because of your skills in training and just your knowledge of the systems overall. Maybe you saved or generated a profit for a company that resulted in a great amount of money for the company. So really focusing on those career achievements and awards. Again, going back to awards and recognitions. If you were nominated for Employee of the Year, if you received some type of recognition from your previous role, that's also going to make you stand out as well. Because a company can, they can train anyone for a role, but they want to ensure that the person they're training is going to be a great investment for them, and is going to be a long-term investment for them as well. So just showcasing that you have this previous positive work experience can be showcased through career achievements as well as awards and recognitions.
The next question we have today is, can I add class projects in resume if the job I'm applying is not directly related? with my previous experience and to keep it in like the 2 pages that we talked about?
Mm-hmm. It depends. If you have other projects and relevant experience you can list in the resume, I would, and then just maybe add a link that they can view more of your projects on a separate profile. Or if you don't have kind of that relevant experience, then you can list it on there, because then that's going to be kind of your noticeable achievements that you have. So you can list that on there if you don't have anything else that's relevant. And then just still trying to really focus on the other skills that align as well. And then again, using ChatGPT of kind of giving the prompt of showcase my relevant skills and experience to this job. And then, I would actually break up the skills and experience, showcase my skills to this job, or showcase my experience to this job. And then if you already have your resume and information uploaded in there, then you can do that as well. But if you don't have anything relevant, yes, definitely use the projects that you have listed. If you do have something relevant, I would focus on that and then link to another online portfolio or something along those lines that they can view that information later.
Thank you so much, Holly, for your time and for understanding for the technical issue. And again, it was great having you. I think all of us we enjoyed the session, and we you gave us like practical tips and tricks on how to make our resume like shine and be attractive to all the employers. Uh, Thank you so much. Before like ending our webinar, I will put the survey link in the chat. Please go just give us your feedback, your comments, so we can take it into consideration for the next event. And again, thank you so much, and I hope to see you in our next webinars.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone.
Thank you, Holly. Bye.
Bye.
Just go and fill in the survey. It will take just 2 minutes. Thank you so much.